Okay, good afternoon. So today's session, we are going to talk about electronic communication in business. So now, under this section, we are going to discuss what is electronic communication, and then why it is important in human resource management. And also, we are going to talk about key communication channels. And under this, especially, I'm going to focus on the written ones, okay? Written electronic communication methods, such as messaging and emails, and even in the virtual meetings also how you're going to handle your speaking, right? So the words is a very powerful tool, so you need to use it very wisely. Okay, so and also we are going to talk about some of the HRM applications. uh, why do we need this electronic communication? Because we need for some other purposes like recruitment, employee uh, engagement, and performance manager. So we'll talk about these things under this topic. Okay, so without a further ado, let's move on to the first one. Okay, so what is electronic communication? So previously, we had traditional way of communication, that is face-to-face communication. So now we have a new trend. This is electronic communication. There is a digital exchange of workplace information. So we use these messaging, virtual meetings, and we have emails and also HR portals. So in any kind of company, you can have HR portal that's within the company to systematically provide the information. They make the portals, right? So this is what we call electronic communication. And why it is very important? Because rather than face-to-face communication, now this is very important for our collaboration and better documentation and compliance. And also we can instantly communicate, even though the person that you're going to recruit, it's a remote place. So you can use these kind of digital communication, okay, electronic communication. And then next, we are going to talk about these communication channels. These communication channels are very important. Why? Because through these emails, messaging apps, and virtual meetings, you can communicate. So the way how you are going to communicate is very important. So to do all these things, we use verbal. Verbal communication means words, right? So I'm going to talk about in details about this verbal communication, especially related to this electronic communication. And you can see, as I mentioned earlier, we use this recruitment. Where do we use this electronic communication for recruitment? For example, digital hiring and employee engagement. So you HR can provide the newsletters, online feedback, and also performance management. So you can track the digital performance. You can track the human performance through a digital platform. Okay. Okay. Since we are going to talk about the new trend, that is digital communication, so we cannot forget about the traditional one. So you need to know the difference and the contrast between these two. So the first one is traditional HR communication. So normally in previous 10 decades ago, we used to do face-to-face meeting, right? So you have to go to the participate in that interview. You have to go visit that place, and then you have to do they will conduct the interview there, and you will use the printed modes like printed memos and some kind of physical records as well. But with the time development, with the time evolve, you see the development of these. Now the HR communication has taken the digital place, right? And also you can see these are now very familiar with our emails, virtual meetings, and HR portals and chatbots. There are AI automated chatbots are there. Okay. So why we need to shift to this digital communication or electronic communication? Because compared to the traditional one, we see it's very faster, right? And anyone can do it they can fix the flexible time frame that they want to communicate. Okay, so the flexibility is there in the remote work. And also it's little bit when we consider rather than we are traveling to another country, so you will see there is a cost effective solution there. Okay. Okay, so what do you think? What is the best approach? So it should be the blended communication. We need to use these two, face-to-face interaction. Why do we need that? Because it needs for the engagement. And also we need to use the digital tools for speed and efficiency. So we cannot ignore that we are just moving on to digital platforms, and we cannot avoid face-to-face interaction. We need both, right? Uh, to do a successful, effective communication. Okay, so we are going to touch upon a little bit new technologies that have already shaped the HR communication. So this may be very new to you, but these are the things now we are using in the model world. Okay, so this is HRIS, it's Human Resource Information System. Mostly more global level companies, and even within the Sri Lanka, they use this kind of to manage the human resource. The systems are managed through these softwares and digital tools. And they have virtual collaboration. Sometimes with the flexibility of the time and the remote places are because of the remote places. So mostly we use as MS Teams, and there's another one called Slack. And also there are AI chatbots, that is automative leave. It does, okay? It automate leave requests, and there are question and answers you can provide. Those things are there. So when you're dealing with the HR. So now the modern trend from the digital platform, now it's going to be AI, right? So AI and automation in HR. So we see that now the modern trend is they use chatbots. Through these chatbots, they are trying to answer the common HR questions. And also they have the predictive analytics. So they can track the employees' retention and how the employees' behaviors and all these things were done by this automation and AI, using this automation and AI. Okay. So digital onboarding is also there. So automated emails are training, videos, and everything will be automated. So that's a new trend that we are looking forward, right? Most powerful countries like America, they use these in very uh, big companies. Okay, so now it's really important to know about these challenges as well as advantages. So one thing we have discussed is it's very fast, cost effective, and 24 hours you can use it. There is no limit. Okay, so when you have the data and when you have the time, so you can just log into that meeting and just conduct it. Okay, if the other employees are available, so you can use that time. So anytime you can use it. And the other thing is it improves the engagement and collaboration. But the new methods of interactive ways, now it's trying to improve the engagement as well. And you can secure, sometimes you can secure your digital record also. You can keep the recording of the meetings that you have conducted, and then you can just, if anything happens, you can refer it back. Okay. And with that advantages, now we are going to look at the challenges. The most important one, the challenge that we have, the limitation that we have is cyber security risk. So we have for these challenges also, now we are coming through with the plans, backup plans, what we can do these things. There are actually ways where you can omit these kind of challenges. and overcome these challenges, right? So cybersecurity risks are there, and sometimes misinterpretations of text-based messages. So it can be done, and also digital overload. Because of too many notifications, you will lose the attention. You will not see what's the importance, right? So these are the solutions. So to avoid the overload, so you can see use simple professional language, and you have to train employees on security practices, have to advise them, and you have to be aware if you're going to be a digital citizen. Of course, now it's a subject also, we need to learn. So we should be upgraded with the knowledge of the security practices, and also balance digital as well as an in-person interaction. So you have to balance both. Okay. Okay. So in the HR, when you are going to deal with the electronic communication, so data manipulation and data management is very important. So you're going to organize and analyze HR data for better to take better decision making. And so you can use this electronic communication methods, just like HR portals, just to analysis HR analysis, digital tools to track the attendance, to track the payrolls and the performances. And because it can avoid the human error. So the benefits we get out of this data manipulation through electronic communication. So you reduces errors, you improve the workforce planning, and also you can enhance the employee experience also. And the common softwares we can use for are these. For the Excel, you can use charts and tables, and HRIS, these are human resource information systems. So these are the very common ones. So you can see SAP, success factors is very common one, and also the cloud storage. So you can store anything in these storages with company owns the Google Drive and SharePoint. Now the common trend is the SharePoint. Okay. Okay. So I told you cybersecurity. That's very important. So because of this, we need to know aware of the data security and protection when we are dealing with these electronic communications. Okay, so why HR data needs protection? Because these data related to personal ones, financial ones, and also the confidential employee data. So the best security practices we can have is encryption. That means protect sensitive data. So we have to implement these things. And also MFA. This is very important one, multi-factor authentication. It prevents unauthorized access towards these communication channels, right? And you have to have the regular backups that prevents data loss. Okay, so we'll see the how implement the security policies and train. You have to see human HR HR or HR's laws should be implement security policies and train employees. These are the two main categories under what we are going to deal with this electronic communication. Okay, so now we learn about the data. Now we have the set of data. Now we have to know how we are going to data filter and sorting in used in HR analytics. These can be actually done with this new softwares, and filtering and sorting is now done using softwares and digital tools. So the HR uses these things for shortlisting job applicants and identifying absenteeism patterns, and then sorting performance rating. All these things are done through this actually digital platforms, the digital tools, right? Okay. So, and in any kind of HR portals, they have these kind of HR analytics dashboard. So you can see as it visible here, average salary and years of company, and then attrition rate and attrition, and the employees, number of employees joined. So everything is there. They are maintaining that. Okay, so these are the very famous HR dashboards: Power BI, Google Data Studio, Tableau. Uh, and why do we need to use these things? Because we can get a real-time workforce insights throughout these, using these dashboards, right? And also it improves the strategic HR decision making. Okay, so the importance of data presentation in HR decision making. Why do we need to do? Because HR report always, it tend to provide us some hints to us to improve decision making, right? So you will have the clear data, and then it justifies HR policies. And you are, while engaging with dashboards, it's enhanced the understanding what kind of resources, human resources you have, and the fact, you can do factor analysis there, and visual storytelling, you can strengthens the HR proposals. Okay, so after you have used the data with filtering and sorting, you have to use the choose the right visualization for data. So automatically it will be done in the HR dashboards. So, but sometimes when we are trying to do these things manually, you see the difference. So there can be tables, you can use bar charts, pie charts to show different data in visual, in giving some kind of light of visual effect to it, right? So you have to make sure that when you're making these kind of data visuals, you have to keep these visuals very simple, and you have to highlight key insights, and also you have to avoid unnecessary clutter. Okay, so we are always daily engaged with this email. So HR communication also always we tackle through this email. It's very important. So the role of email is very important facts in HR communication. So we have internal HR emails, which can be used as policy updates and appraisals. And there are external HR emails. We use those things for hiring, compliance, and legal matters. Okay. And make sure the email that you're drafting for internal HR emails or external HR emails, so it has to be professional. Professional in the sense it should reflect the company culture, and it should be concise. That means it should save the time of the reader, and it should be secure, and you have to use the security policies. That's what I'm saying. So it protects the sensitive data. Okay, so now before we are going to draft an email structure, it can be shown your professionalism and everything. So you should know the structure of it. So there are key components. First one is subject line. So the reader does not have time to read the passages there. It clearly says subject line. So the reason why you are doing it should be clear and specific. And then you have to include the greeting like dear, or you can use the first name, and then the body. So purpose in the first sentence, and you can use the bullet points, right? And the closing, it should be very polite sign off. And also now the modern trend is we use our e-signature, professional signature. Under that you can write down, include your designation and all the facts related to your designation. And there are few things that you should do, and you have to avoid some of the things. Okay, so the do points, under do points, what you have to do is you have to use the professional tone, and make sure you include the bullet form. Okay. And proper format should be there. These three things are very important. So you have to do them. Okay. And the next one is don't. Under that, we never use the slang language and we never use caps lock because it shows the tone, right? So it could be very aggressive, very stressing point like that. And we never use emojis and sorry. So you should not share very sensitive information in that. Okay, so now we have talked about the email and we have this teleconferencing and visual meetings in HRs as well. So we cannot avoid this when we are going to discuss about electronic communication. So teleconferences in HR used for remote hiring and virtual training and performance reviews. The very common challenges what we notice in these kind of teleconferencing in HR, there can be technical issues and also engagement concerns, and there can be security risks. For the best practices for engaging remote employees, so we can just use these icebreakers and interactive polls, and then you can use the breakout rooms, and if you can use the visuals, and keep the meeting short and engaging. Okay, so we cannot avoid this topic as well because it's very important. Handling sensitive HR conversations over the video calls. So the best practice is to ensure the privacy, use encrypted calls, and document the conversation for further reference, and you can maintain a professional tone. Okay. So most of the time, the cyber security is there in the privacy in the teleconferencing. So we have to talk about this aspect as well. So where can we see these kind of things? The common risks can be data breaches and hacking and unauthorized access. So these three are the most common risks that we see in cybersecurity and privacy in teleconferencing. So the HR strategies that they have taken are they use password protected meetings and they enable waiting rooms. So if they identify that person is do not belong to this, so they are going to avoid them. And then you have to avoid sharing confidential info over insecure networks. Okay, so this is the part one of this lecture. So this is the background knowledge of the electronic communication in business. I'm going to talk about in details about that is my part two of session. That is using words effectively in business communication. Okay, so I hope you understood the first session. So let me share the other presentation also here. Okay, so this is about using words effectively in business communication. So what actually words are very important. So under that, we're going to talk about the word choice, preciseness, simplicity, and bias-free language. Okay, so we talk about the background information about again, I'm just revisiting. We just discussed about the electronic communication in business. So under that, we talk about what is electronic communication, why it is important, and we talk about the emails and messaging apps and virtual meetings, especially how you're going to conduct and how you're going to handle the sensitive data and information. And now we are going to discuss in details about the words, how you're going to use in business communication. Actually, this is related to the language side. So we are going to talk about in details what sort of words, especially the word choice, preciseness, simplicity, and bias-free language. Okay, so the power of communication through this, you can understand, we can build up all these five elements, right? So we can build up relationships, we can build up values, we can build up customer, and then we can build up success and loyalty. So we can do this only through the words, right? So that's why we need to understand how we are going to use the words effectively. Okay, why effective word use matters? So, as we discussed earlier, words can shape the business relationships and decision making. And also, clear communication always it improves the effective HR, right? It's always is there. Clear communication should be there. And also, this
Excuse
includes.
me, ma'am.
Hello.
Excuse me, ma'am. This is not given in the PowerPoint presentation given to
Yeah,
us,
this
madam.
is the second part of it.
Okay.
I'll ask them to send this as well, because we just discussed about the brief introduction about the electronic communication, and actually this is the lesson that I have to focus on. This is the English part of it.
Okay.
Okay. So sorry, the and workplace diversity, and also it improves the professionalism. Okay, so these are the four factors. Even though you're going to draft an email, or even though you're going to conduct the meeting in orally, so you have to make sure you use the word choice. That means it should be very professional and appropriate, and you have to use clear words. And the second one is preciseness. So you have to be very specific, and you have to avoid ambiguity. And the message that you are communicating orally or written format, it should be very simple. You have to keep the language accessible and direct. And also, this is very important. Lastly, we are going to talk about bias-free language. So I'm going to talk about these things in details under the next upcoming slides, right? So you have to ensure this inclusivity. That means everybody is included, that you are addressing, not only for a part of it. And fairness should be there in the communication. Okay, so let's move on to the word choice. So what do we mean by word choice? It should be very appropriate, respectful, and professional word. So what you can do is you can avoid the slang language when you're dealing with a very distant communication. We call it a distant communication. That's always a professional one, right? We are not talking to a friend, so we cannot use the slang, cliche, and then you cannot, even though when you're talking to a maintaining your professionalism, uh, you have to you cannot use overly technical language. Okay, so the common word choice pitfalls, you can see vague and ambiguous words to lead the misinterpretation, and also overly formal, outdated words. You have to avoid these, okay? And you have to words reduce clarity. And also cliche and filler words, it always dilute the professionalism. So you have to avoid these cliche right? The filler words. Mostly these are the common word pitfalls. So to fix the word choice, we can use the replace the common words with simpler, familiar alternatives and ensure the words match with the tone and purpose of HR communication. And you can test the clarity by reading aloud and simplifying if needed. Next one, so this is the first one we are going to talk about the power, the word choice. And the next one is power of preciseness. Under this, why does it matter? Preciseness. Always preciseness help us to prevent misinterpretations in oral email, written emails and oral reports and sometimes in HR policies. And also it saves the time by ensuring, but because it saves the time because with the clear instructions, you clearly understand what it, quickly you understand what the message is about, and it builds the credibility and professionalism. So you can achieve the preciseness through using exact figures and details in and instead of the vague expressions, you can use the exact figures, and you can keep sentences very short, direct, and action oriented. And you have to remove the redundancies, that means unnecessary details. That's how you can maintain the preciseness in communication. Okay, let's see. Convert precise statements into imprecise statements into precise communication. So here, look at this example. The report should be ready soon. When you look at this one, this is very imprecise. Why we say that? Because it does not exactly say when it will need it and at what time, right? And it has not mentioned whether the report should be completed and submitted. Okay, so if you see how you can do it in a very precise way, the report will be completed and submitted by 3 p.m. on Friday. So by 3 p.m. on Friday, it talks about the time and the date. And sometimes you have to apply the preciseness in performance reviews. For example, instead of saying John is a good team player, so you have to exactly say precisely how he is. So you can say consistently collaborate with the team members, and by sharing ideas, how he does that. Sharing ideas, offering constructive feedbacks, and always meeting deadlines on group projects. So you have to explain how does it do. So performance reviews always, it should be very elaborative, very expanded way of doing it. So you have to give individual performance reviews like this. So it should be very precise. And the performance review, this is another one. Sarah needs to improve her communication skills. Okay, so that also again in a vague manner, you should understand precisely say where and when she has to correct it. So you have to say, Sarah should focus on improving clarity in email communication by using concise language, ensuring key ideas are included. Additionally, she should participate more actively in meetings by articulating her ideas clearly. So here, this performance review precisely says about her email communication and how she should orally communicate and with sharing her ideas. David has shown some improvement. Still, we are discussing about the performance reviews. Okay. David has shown some improvement in project management. Okay. David has shown some improvement in project management. So, how he has shown the improvement? You have to say by consistently meeting deadlines, prioritizing tasks effectively, and coordinating with stakeholders to ensure project milestones. These are the things you have to precisely say. And sometimes in HR policy also, it should be very precise. Now, if we give some imprecise statement like employees should avoid being late for work, then employees are required to report to work by 9 a.m. And you have to mention about the time, and you have to tell about arrivals beyond 9:50 a.m. will be considered tardy and recorded. 3 instances of tardiness in a month will require a discussion with the manager. So you see, this should be very precisely, these policies should be very precisely communicated to the employees. Another example, employees must dress appropriately. These are very general statements, right? So you have to precisely say how they should dress and any dress code, okay? And business casuals from Monday to Thursday, and then formal attire for client meetings, and jeans and sneakers are permitted only on Fridays, unless stated otherwise for special events. Like that, very precisely you have to provide the HR policies. When talking about the company provides leave benefits, that does not give us a clear idea what is it, right? So you have to precisely say entitled for 18 days of paid leave annually, including vacation and personal days, and requests for leave must be submitted at least 2 weeks in advance, okay, to approved by the manager. So these things are the ones how you are going to use the preciseness, especially in performance reviews and HR policies, okay. Now we are going to talk about the importance of simplicity. This is the third point that we are going to talk under using the words effectively in business communication. Okay. So we discuss about the word choice, and then we discuss about the power of preciseness. And the third one is the importance of simplicity. Okay, so easy to understand communication reduces confusion. Why we need it, right? Here we are going to talk about why actually we need the oral and written communication, especially related to business relation, right? It's easy to understand. If you can easily understand that, you can reduce the confusion, and it improves the employee comprehension and engagement. And always it prevents the misinterpretation in legal and HR documents. So how we can use the simplicity? These are the things you have to do. Short, you have to use short, active voice sentences. Okay. And then avoid jargon. The technical, very heavy technical words. So you have to avoid the technical complexity. And then you have to avoid over explanation also. And you have to choose familiar, everyday words over the complicated alternatives. Okay. Now, this is an activity, simplify complex HR policies. So this is the original HR policy given. It is very complex and wordy. How you can, let's see how you can simply say it. Okay, if you go through it, you will analyze that submit leave request through the company portal at least 10 working days in advance. Last request may be denied unless it's a medical emergency with supporting documents. This is what we have to say. This is a very simplified version. So you have to use these simplified ways, right? Without overcrowded with all employees are required to submit leave application via company portal no later than 10 working days and the intended leave date. And if any failure to comply with this requirement may result in the leave request being denied. So have used the very complex type of wordings and decretion of the department head. And then in cases the medical of images where supporting documentation must be provided. So this is very complex and wordy. Okay. I'll show you another example like that. This is about there is no subject here. So you see, you have to use the subject. And simply say, starting today, all employees must log in out of the company tracking system at the beginning and each of the workday. This ensures accurate attendance records. Please follow this process to avoid discrepancies. So very simple. Now see how it is complex and crowded with the words. This original one. This is to inform you that effective immediately, all employees are expected to adhere to the newly revised remote work policies which mandates each team member must log into the company's tracking system at the commencement of their workday and log out at the conclusion of their assigned working hours. Kindly ensure compliance to avoid any possible discrepancies in attendance record. So you have to use very simple because we have a barrier, that is the language barrier. To make it simple and clear, anybody can understand any email. So that's what we need to practice. And this is another complex HR memo. So I have given you the HR policy where it can be very simplified, and even an email, HR me email, you can make it very simple like this. And this is a memo. See how complex and wordy here. And you can simplify it into a version like this. Dear team, please keep your personal belongings with you at all the time. Unattended items in common areas may be lost or damaged. Company is not responsible for missing items. So simply you can say this without having these large, bulky words and complex ideas. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to go through this. Okay, so after this, we are moving on to the fourth aspect. When we are using words and all these things, we have to be careful about this bias-free language also. Let's first see what is this bias-free language. So always we call biased language. That means that language, it discriminates or separate people only addressing to the gender, based on gender, age, race, disability. So when we have these biased things like gender, age, race, and disability, you have to understand that you're creating only an exclusion, making them away from your communication. So then it can build up the misunderstanding, and also it can lead to the workplace conflicts. So we can identify the some common type of business communication bias like gender bias, age bias, and ethnic bias. Okay, so sometimes replace chairman with chairperson. So we see to avoid this gender bias, instead of chairman, you can use chairperson. It can be a woman or a male. And then instead of saying early career professional, so you're going to exclude the others. Okay, so inclusiveness should be there. So you can say young employees. You can include young employees instead of these early career professionals. And sometimes international employees, you use that term also. Instead, you can use foreigners. So you make sure that you include, exclude all this bias-free communication. You have to use the bias-free communication, right? You have to avoid the biased language. Okay, so what we can do? We can use the neutral terms and inclusive language. Very simple thing, right? And also you can avoid the stereotype assumptions and insensitive phrasing. And you have to ensure the job descriptions and HR documents and policies, all these are unbiased. Okay. Bias-free communication, that means. Okay, let's see some examples. First we'll see now. In the job descriptions, I have the bias statement. It's very biased one, right? We'll see where it is biased. We are looking for a young, energetic candidate to join our dynamic sales team. Okay. Instead of young, you can avoid that. It's an age biased one. Okay. We are looking for a motivated and enthusiastic candidate. Even though it's very that person can very motivated and enthusiastic. So you can avoid the age bias there. Okay, next one. The ideal candidate must be a native English speaker to ensure the effective communication with clients. So what is the bias there? You have to avoid this native English speaker. You have to be very inclusive. This part, it always shows that you are excluded, right? So then the ideal candidate must have excellent English communication skills to interact effectively with clients. Okay, let's look at this one. The job descriptions. The role requires strong leadership skills. So we are seeking a strong male, again the gender, candidate with prior experience. So instead of this strong male, we can use what? This role requires strong leadership skills and prior experience managing team. So in job descriptions, we see all these kind of biases. Next, we see HR policies. How these biases take place in HR policies. Okay, so the bias statement is maternity leave is provided for new mothers, but the fathers should use their regular leave if they need time off after childbirth. So you have to say parental leave is available for all new parents to support their transition into parenthood. That's very simple. Unbiased. Okay. Next one. Some HR policies are like that. Employees should dress in a manner appropriate for their gender. So you can just unbiasedly say employees should adhere to the company professional dress code, which applies to all team members equally. And when we are giving the performance reviews also, you can see sometimes the very biased statements are there. Lisa is very emotional and struggles to handle pressure. So instead of you can say Lisa should focus on improving stress management strategies in a high pressure situations. So that is very unbiased language is used, right? Another example, it's another performance review. David is assertive and confident, making him a natural leader, while Maria can be aggressive when her expressing her views. So you can say David and Maria both demonstrate strong leadership skills, encouraging open communication and further enhance the team collaboration. Okay, this is how we are going to how the words are important. Okay, and we talk about the 4 categories under that. So the first one is word choice, and the second one is preciseness. And under preciseness, we discuss about how the preciseness can be used in HR policies and performance reviews. And then we discuss about the simplicity, how the simplicity can be achieved. And next, we moved on to the bias-free language. Okay. And we learned under that, under 3 categories, performance reviews, HR policies, and then we talked about the job descriptions, right? How you can be you can use biased, unbiased, and also very inclusive type of language. Okay, so and the last one is internal communications and memos. For our annual company retreat, we'll have fun activities for employees and their wives. So you can just, there can be some employees, they have partners, right? This is only biased, only for the wedded couples can come. So you can correct it. Annual company retreat will have fun activities for employees and their partners. Okay. And also we encourage our older employees to keep up with technology and stay relevant. So older employees. So you can, instead of that, you can say we are providing ongoing training and development opportunities to ensure all employees. So you have to be very inclusive. Always combine all the categories, age category wise and the gender category wise. Everyone should be inclusive, not excluded the others. Okay. Updated with the latest technology. Okay. So what you have to understand through this is words matter. Because of that, you have to use the words, choose the words very wisely. And then always the clarity, preciseness, it improves the workplace communication. And also you have to use the bias-free language because it promotes the inclusivity. And also effective communication strengthens HR effectively. Okay, so the techniques of style in business communication. What we are going to learn under this is the style that you are going to implement in business communication, and what are the key strategies that you can use. Especially we are talking about the writing and speaking language. Okay. So let's analyze. And there are 3 types of writing styles. Mostly the HR policies and the employment contracts and reports, they are going under the category of formal. Okay, because we consider them as official documents. And also there are semi-formal ones that are internal memos, notices, and some emails. And we have informal one also. This use rarely, we never use this kind of thing in HR. Okay, so we rarely use it. But under business communication, we have all these three. Okay, so the tone is very important. Writing style and speaking style. I told you, tone. You have to adapt your tone according to the audience. This is very important. Let's take a supervisor. So supervisor always should have a formal tone. And peer to another team member, you should have a semi-formal tone, not the formal tone. And if there is a new employee, you have to be friendly, but it should be a very clear tone. Okay, so these are the three key features of good HR writing. So now we are going to focus on writing. So first one is clarity, second one is coherence, third one is readability. So under clarity, you have to mention clear purpose and message. Make sure you write the clear purpose and message. And coherence means whatever you build up in bullet point form or very simple way, it should be very logical flow of ideas, right? Then only another person can be easily understand. So readability means easy to understand and simple language used. Okay, so let's talk about this conciseness in details. Why does this conciseness it matters, right? Because already it enhances the professionalism and it saves time for the reader and reduce misunderstanding. So the techniques you can use. So first thing is you have to remove the unnecessary uh, words, right? Due to the fact that instead of that, you can use because. Very simple. Okay. And then you can use conciseness is there. Okay. Avoid redundant expression. Each and every employee. Instead of that, you can say each employee. And sometimes you can use the bullet forms to talk about the HR meeting agenda, leave policy update, recruitment targets, and employee feedback sessions. So these are the techniques you can use for conciseness. It saves time, right? It saves time. Rather than you read run-on lines on the words, 2 to 3 words, you can just simply, for 4 words, you can replace it with 1 or 2 words, right? Or in bullet forms. Okay, so you see the before and after example. I'm writing this email to let you know what interview has been scheduled. Just, you can simply say your interview is scheduled. Okay, then conciseness is also very important and also the voice. So we learn this active and passive voice and we'll see which voice that we should use. Okay, if it's going to be active voice, you are going to focus on who is doing the action, right? Who is doing the action. So HR approved your training request. So HR is the person who has approved the training. So that's what we call always the who is doing the action is focused here. So in email, performance reports and meeting summaries, you have to use active voice. And if you are going to use about passive voice, here we are just only focused on what happened. Your training request was approved by HR. So we can use the passive voice in sensitive messages or when the actor is unknown, right? So you make sure always you use active voice because we need to practice it, right? Never, I mean, I cannot say that not to use it, but if you want to focus on what happened, then you may have to use the passive voice in that case. But most probably informal writing, formal ways of delivering a speech or writing, we use active because we always focuses on who is doing the action, right? And rather than conciseness and active and passive voice, emphasis also very important. You should know when and where you're going to emphasize things. So if you are drafting an email, so make sure, especially the slides or the policies, you can use this item, I mean the bold and italics, you can highlight those words, emphasize, right? And also you can structure sentences to place the important info at the start or end. Okay. So you can use these emphasis points. And also you can use the parallel structures like this. Maintain similar grammatical structure or list. So you can say company offers bonuses, health insurance, and work from home options rather than saying company offers bonuses and employees enjoy. So all these three things you can simply using the conjunction and you can combine all these three. Okay, so use maintain the similar grammatical structure as given here. Don't try to change the pattern in the middle. Okay, avoid that. Okay, and also punctuation marks are very important. Okay, punctuation marks are very important. Why I am saying that? It always shows the professionalism and also prevent miscommunication. So we have commas to separate the ideas. Example is given here. We review the CVs, selected the candidates, comma, and finalize the interview list. And then you can use the colon mark. These are the very commonly used punctuation marks. There are other punctuation marks also, but we mostly commonly use comma, colon, and semicolon. So when we are going to introduce a list, we use the colon. So you can see this is the colon mark here. Required documents. So in details, you include the list. ID proof, educational certifications, certificates, and the experience letters. You make sure you use these things, right? It shows your professionalism. And also semicolons. It connects closely related idea. So now see the training was effective, colon, semicolon mark. Why do we call it semicolon? It has one dot and a comma. Okay. It's a combination of these two. And employees felt more confident. Okay, let's fix some of these sentences with proper punctuation. Let's see whether you can do this. First, now you are going to separate the ideas and items by using the comma. I'll give you a few minutes. You can go through it and you can find the exact place where you're going to place the comma. Okay? Okay, let's check the answers. So in the first sentence, the HR manager discussed employee performance appraisals. Then you have to place a comma there. Recruitment strategies. And again, comma. Before the end, you have to put in a comma. And workplace safety. Okay. This is how you are going to separate ideas and items using the comma. Next one. Thank you for attending the orientation. We hope you found it useful. Now see, thank you for attending the orientation. You separate the idea here and then and we hope you found it. Okay. And the last one, after reviewing your application, we would like to schedule an interview. So now here, two ideas are joined together. You have to separate this idea. Then again, you have to place a comma here. Okay, I hope you have clearly understood. It's very important, right? Using these things when you're writing. Okay, colon. I told you when we are going to introduce a list or explanation, you have to use these two dots. Okay, I'll give you another few minutes to go through it and identify the colon marks where you should place. Okay, so look at these example. Please bring these documents. There you have to put the colon mark, your resume, your ID, and your, yes, there is also, you have to use the commas also, okay? Your resume, comma, your ID, comma, and then you have separated the items here. Next one. The HR policy outlines the following benefits. Again, you're going to introduce a list with a comma. Okay. Health insurance, comma, paid leave, comma, and performance bonuses. Next one. We need to focus on three main goals: retention, recruitment, and training. So goals, you have to place the comma, colon mark here, and then retention, comma, recruitment, comma, and training. So now I think you clearly understood the punctuation mark colon, where, when, and where we use it. Now we have semicolons. We use semicolons to connect closely related independent clauses. So you have to identify when and where you're going to use this semicolon. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes. Again, go through these three sentences and find the best place where you can place the semicolon. Okay. So if we go through this, the interviews were scheduled, and then you have to use a semicolon here because it's connect closely related independent clauses. Okay. Independent clauses are like this, right? So independent in the word itself, you can identify that it can stand alone, right? So for example, if I'm going to divide these two sentences, this one and this one, if you read them alone, they can stand alone, right? The interviews were scheduled. It can stand alone. And all the candidates were informed via email. It also can stand alone in a sentence, right? But these are closely related one, very independent. So then you have to use this semicolon. Do you understand? So that's what we have to understand through it. And let's look at the second one. The session was informative. That's also one independent clause. It can stand alone in a sentence. And the employees gave positive feedback. It's another independent clause. Okay. Second one. So where do you put it? Here. Here you place the semicolon. Next one. We could delay the training team is not ready yet. Okay, we could delay the training. That there you place the semicolon, and the team is not ready yet. These two are very independent clauses. So you join them by using this because those two are very closely related, right? The team is there and they are not ready. It's one point, and we could delay the training. Okay. So what we have learned today under this, you have learned the basic identification of what is the electronic communication, and we learned about the some of the various facts under that, the traditional way of communication and why we should move on to the digital communication. And when it comes to the digital communication, we talk about there are channels that we use, emails, visual telecommunication, video conferences, and all these oral way of communication. So after that, I shifted to the language part where we need to talk about the words, right? So under words, we discuss about the four things. Okay, if you are clear, you can identify those four things. First one is, what is the first one? Word choice, the words that you have to use targeting the audience. And then the second one is, what is it? Preciseness and simplicity and bias free language. Okay, and then after that we shifted to the style. So I told you writing style should be this is about writing. Okay, this style should be matched to the tone should match the audience. So I told you you have to avoid using informal tone. And the second feature we discuss under that is conciseness. So we can maintain the conciseness using the short and direct phrases, and make sure that you avoid wordly expressed jargon. Avoid, okay? You should not use that. This is also, these things under here we are talking about avoid things, huh? And the voice, I told you we have to use active voice. Excessive passive voice. That means you can use the passive if you're focusing on the what is being done. But you should not excessively use passive voice. You have to avoid that. Okay. And we talk about the emphasis and how you can highlight the key points by using bullet forms and by using bold. And then you can use underline and you can use the feature of italics. Okay. So long-winded sentences you have to avoid. Never use that. It time consuming, right? And punctuation. So you have to use proper punctuation. Just run on lines or fragmented sentences. You have to avoid them. Okay. So I hope you have understood. Today's session we focus on electronic communication and how you're going to use if it's going to be oral or email writing. So we discuss about the words and the writing style. Okay. So hope you have learned since it's a very short lecture today, session today. So this very informative and there are do's and don'ts you have to follow. I hope you will understand and just practice this. By practicing it only, you can avoid those don'ts, right? So just for the sake of doing this HR, right? I mean, your bachelor's of HRM. So you should practice these things in your daily lives. To do that, you have to practice this communication, especially the word choice, especially the preciseness, especially the simplicity, and you have to focus on the bias free. Okay, in the cooperative world, it's very important. We never use we never segregate anyone. We always go for the inclusive language. We want everybody to be very collaborative, right? And also make sure you avoid these language errors. Use the punctuation marks properly. Use the concise word. Use the active voice. Don't go for the too much of excessive usage of passive voice. And your tone should be very professional tone when you are addressing the audience. Okay. So we'll meet in the next session. We'll see. Okay. Have a good day.